Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. You cannot win all of them. 3 stages that are most commonly known, which is pre-production, production, and post-production. But there's one thing that everybody always forgets.
Because I don't understand, why has streaming become so popular?
Something happened with the evolution of the industry. Esports. Well, the only way to understand it is by engaging it. There's no other way.
Hutch is a media pioneer and communication specialist with over 30 years of experience. He's a recognized leader for TV streaming networks, films, and communication strategies, here to explain how emerging tech is transforming the way we create, share, and monetize content. It seems content is moving, if you're paying attention, towards more live.
Look, in digital marketing, there's this funny saying that content is king, but engagement is queen, and the queen rules the house.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Hope It Helps. And guys, today I have a very special guest, someone I've been really excited to have on the show. Please welcome to the show, Hutch. Hutch, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much for your time, man. I really appreciate it. So Hutch, I'd like to give the audience context on how we know each other. So we met a couple of weeks back and through my wife, Lana, shout out Lana. And she told me about, your experience in the film and media production space. You've been in this space for over 30 years. We just, had a quick conversation over the phone and we seemed to hit it off. And then we went and grabbed a coffee. And guys, I don't know if you've ever had this experience. We sat down, I think at 6, we left at 2 a.m. So clearly, there was a vibe, so we had a good time. And it was really a pleasure and an honor to sit down and listen to your entire life story, all the ups and the downs. And something I really took away from your story, Hutch, is that you've always seemed to find a way. No matter what career path you took, no matter whether it was in media, whether it was doing all the other stuff that you've done, you always seem to figure out a way to make it work. And for today, what I wanted to do is really dive into your experience in the media space. Right now, content is changing so much from when you started to where you are. I know you have a background in film and production and you've run movies and stuff. So I wanted today to kind of be a film/content masterclass. Where were we? Where are we now? And what opportunities does someone with your experience see, now moving forward in the future? Mm-hmm. But before we get into all of that, Hutch, why don't you give all of us a little bit of background about yourself and we'll take it from there.
Okay, sure. So like you said, I have over 30 years of experience. So I started very young. My father pushed us to know how to sell candy when we were kids, and to be have a commercial set of mind, business set of mind, since we were very young, right? And he was a film critic, and that's part of what got me into being passionate about films, film production, and all of this. So. Very young, when I wanted to be a racer, I had an accident on my dirt bike, and that retired me from racing. And so I was, like anybody would be like, now what I'm gonna do when I grow up, right? And then one day I had this moment of clarity, and I said, okay, yeah, films, production, marketing, advertising, everything that needs a camera, actors, a director, as long as I get to shout out, action. Right?
Yeah.
So, you have to remember that I was a teenager back then, right?
Yeah.
But I was very clear. This is what I want.
Yeah.
Now I see it completely different than back then, but I'm very happy that I pursued it. So basically, since that age, I started preparing myself, buying books, studying by myself stuff. There were tough times in Mexico, so it was a little bit difficult for me, for my dad to support me. He didn't quite agree.
Yeah.
Even though he was a film critic, he didn't quite agree me going on this career path. But like you said, I always find a way. So I said, I don't care who wants to stand in my way. I'll just go around, push them aside, whatever I need to do to achieve what I want, without being an asshole.
Yeah,
I don't know
of course.
If I can curse here, but
yeah, of course you can.
It if you want.
Yeah, no, there's on show. Fuck everything. It's my show. Please feel free.
Perfect. So I was like, okay, my instinct is to not be an asshole, but I don't step over people to climb up the ladder. I work together with people, right? So, but there's people that back in those days, especially in Mexico, in countries, third world countries, there's a lot of skepticism when someone says like, "Hey, I want to be an actor, I want to be a film director, I want to be a professional racer, or in sports, I want to be a tennis player, or I want to be a basketball player," and stuff like that. And you see movies and stuff, and where you see they're successful and that it's possible. You see in TV in real life, right? And then some of us, we want that, right? But then some parents are not, they don't believe it's possible. But everything is possible if you work for it, right? You can make a living out of any profession. You can. It's just how you approach it.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I decided to prepare myself, take advantage of time, so that when I reach, university, I would be much more prepared. And then that took me to working on films. After a gap there that I was in food and beverages and hospitality and stuff, but still producing events. So that gave me also a good sense of how to produce audiovisual content. And so, yeah, and then from then, suddenly my career started kicking off, and I started getting clients, I started getting calls, and I started like getting involved in the media, in the industry. And then my career started growing and growing and growing, until a point in which I saw technology advances and things that we'll talk further, that made me start, pioneering in technologies and new tendencies and what was coming, and try to see a little bit ahead of time to see what's coming, what can I prepare and what can I do accordingly to what is going to come, and so I can make a successful project, or advise someone, or consultation to other people to adapt to changes and things like this.
Sure.
And since then, since developing back in 2007 mobile TV, to start playing with augmented reality, virtual reality for clients, campaigns, editorials, to now developing virtual production, hybrid XR studios. So it's not only about the storytelling, It's also, I'm passionate about the technology and how it's evolving and how it's changing. Now we have AI. So basically, in small words,
Yeah.
in short, long words, that's a little bit of who I am.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you for giving us that context, man. I think it's always very important for the audience to know, your background and how we got here. So I know you've been in the film industry for 30 years, and you talked about the technology aspect and how things were advancing, and you always shifted. You were always looking at what's the next thing, what's the next technological thing, and how is that going to affect this media space, right? So I'm guessing now, and I know you have talked about streaming and stuff, which I want to dive into in a little bit, because I think that has really exploded, especially today. But I guess from your experience from working, previously and working on films till now, what has been the biggest shift in how content is produced and consumed?
Well, obviously, the shift from analog to digital was a big change in the industry in general, because it's like in computers, like garage bands, right? So Apple was developing in a garage, right? Steve Jobs and his friends were working on a garage, and that's where they develop everything. And also, so for music, that's why they call it garage band, right? So it's kind of the same. It did like the same for everyone, right?
Okay.
Because switching to this digital era made things easier for everyone, right? So guys started making short films with handycams, right? So before, like generations in the 80s, they didn't have that much. They did have it, but I mean, a handycam was this big, right?
Yeah,
so it was not like you could not like take it everywhere. Then they started getting smaller and smaller, and even those are not cinematic cameras. People were playing with them, right? And creating stories and shorts. A good example I can tell you of that is M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah.
So if you go back in his story, he was doing short films with his friends and stuff with handycams, right? And the same thing happened to me, right? And Robert Rodriguez is another one that used handycams and stuff. So that triggered something in our generation that helped a creative boom.
Yeah.
Helped a creative boom to be developed, right? So compared to before to now, what you're saying, like the differences, well, the thing is that now more people can do it, right?
Yeah.
Before it was just like a select group that had studies, went to university, and then got to mingle with certain people and did some festivals and won some awards and got selected, and now I'm going to work with you, right? That started changing because also with the arrival of YouTube, right? Because people started uploading their content, their videos. It's like, I don't care if I don't have the big contract with Hollywood or with Bollywood or with any industry in the world. I'm just going to do a film and upload it for fun, right? So kids started doing stuff for fun, and then those kids evolved into professional filmmakers or storytellers or musicians, or did not and went on another path, but still did that during certain early stages of the digital era that we're living now. So I think that one of the most significant challenges that not only for me but for the industry in general was adapting to that, right?
To that change.
That change. That was a big change. It's like when internet came along, right?
Yeah.
It was a big change because it's not a different camera, right? It's a different way of doing things in general, right? So, for example, sometimes I talk with my my musician friends, right? And I tell them, look, for you guys it's a little bit easier because you just grab a guitar, you put it on your lap, and you can compose a song and you can record it, right? You have a small studio, you have a computer, and you can record a song with a guitar and a microphone, right? Back did to turntables and a microphone, right?
There you go, yeah.
So it's easier to do that. To create films is a little bit more complicated because you need talent. You need someone specialized in light. You know, someone who knows how to use the cameras. You know, someone to control the talent, someone to direct the talent, someone to take care of production, expenses, transportation. Like, it's a lot of factors and other arts that go into it, right? The director of art. So if you have a painting on your, like right now you have your plant, right? You have your sign. So these kind of things, when you, it has a process that is a little bit more complicated, not just like, okay, I'll grab my guitar and I'll create a piece.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But the digital evolution started facilitating that for us, right? So, for example, I still got to play with VHS cassettes, and I edited like 2 VHS players and playing in one, recording in
No
one.
way.
And
Oh my God.
and that's how I edited like my first projects, right?
No way.
Personal things, and then I started doing like videos for events for quinceañeras and stuff, and we were like roughly editing like play, record, play, record, play, record. Didn't get the best quality like that, but it helped me get a business started, right? And then it helped me get the money to acquire the proper equipment to edit the proper way.
Yeah.
Right? And then recording on switching from VHS to the smaller tape that was high 8, if I remember correctly, and then mini DV, and then it disappeared.
As it usually does.
It became digital.
Yeah.
Right?
On the point you talked about, I think you made a good point how technology has allowed a lot more people to be able to produce content, to do all these things. And I wasn't aware personally of how significant the shift was from analog to digital, but it sounds like it was kind of like you said, like the internet. It's a brand new way of doing things, thinking, new technologies that you can bring into. I think it would be what I've been thinking about listening to you, Hutch, is I feel like now, because of social media, there, kind of like before when you were saying like only a select few people maybe knew how to do a camera, how to do light, how to shoot, whatever. I think with social media and TikTok now, I think generally overall as people, everyone has become kind of a movie director in their own way because the equipment, the barrier to entry now is so low, and the younger generation are even more than like we are unreal technically savvy.
Yeah. No, and so it's part of everything. Look, if you see on the professional side, like TV networks, right? So they also have to adapt to it, and they had to change their gear. They had to change their cameras. They have to change everything, turn it into digital. Those was millions of dollars of investment that each TV network, the old school and the new ones, and all of them had to do a big investment to adapt to these changes. Some of them did it slowly. Some of them did it like on a go. But there was a lot of change. I remember the analog cameras or tape cameras being like sold for pennies. Like you could buy them like for nothing. But then it was like, what do I do with this? Right?
There you go. Yeah.
They were like, yeah, okay, so cool. I have this camera and I start shooting, but then it's like, okay, I need something to edit, and then you go to the stores and then they're out of stock because it's obsolete now, right? And now what you're saying is right. So with social media, that opened a portal to a whole new. I don't want to say dimension.
But in a way, yeah, kind
but
of.
in a way, because you're right. Like a lot of people like said, okay, so I'll open my laptop. It has a camera. It has a microphone. And very simple. And then they record themselves with the laptop, right? That started way back before the laptops had camera integrated, the webcams you had to put on top of your monitor and stuff. So it started back then. That's how visual podcasts got started.
Yeah.
So at the beginning it was just audio, right? Kind of like that was the evolution of radio, right? So it was okay. So I cannot go and have my show on a radio station. I'll record it and I'll publish it online, right? And then Apple launched the podcast section and the iPod and stuff, right? So that started evolving things, right? So it's easier for me now. I just I want to talk about something and I grab a recorder and I record myself for 1 hour talking about a topic and then I just publish it, or I invite a friend to have a conversation about something and then I record and upload it. And then cameras got tiny, simple, very nice quality. Just put them there, control them, and then you can do things like this.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are getting into it, but not at all a lot have the instinct to do it right.
That's okay. See, that's a really, really good point, because what as we just touched on, now everyone can do it, right? So the barrier to entry is quite low, but the competition for me to stand out against like a million other videos now is very hard. And I've noticed, I think different platforms you can play around in different ways. But for example, YouTube, you need to have, if you want a chance of standing out, at the bare minimum, very high production level, very high editing. Who would have thought that in 2025, like you probably back in the day, you'd find video editors in the films or in the TV studios or whatever. Now I could pull up a phone and find you 20,000 in like 5 seconds, which is insane.
Yeah, because look, a lot of people are, but it also, it's a thin line, because yes, you can find 2,000, but who's really good?
See,
right?
that's okay.
And for what?
Yeah.
So it depends. What's your project? What do you need? So, I mean, that's why we made a distinction in the industry from videographers to cinematographers.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. Could you explain the difference between those two? I think it'd be useful for people to
And
understand.
that will help also with the editing aspect of it, right? So, a videographer, nowadays you can open YouTube and learn how to shoot and take classes for free and understand. I did it with books.
Well, that must have been so much harder to apply. Press button 1, show this.
Yeah, okay, try again. Page 36. Okay. My shoulder is wrong. Okay. So, yeah, because, I mean, the internet was around, but it was just getting started. There was nothing like YouTube back then when I was preparing myself. And I was preparing on my own. I was not going to a school or anything, which is what internet gives the advantage now. You can also prepare yourself without having to go to a school and start doing things, right? So the videographer learns from the internet, right? Saves some money or borrows some money, acquires a camera, starts playing with it, starts editing. There's free software to edit. There's simple, complex. There's many softwares out there, apps now, to edit, now even in a tablet, right? So the videographer is most common known for doing social activities.
Yes.
Not only from weddings and events, but also like expos, corporate video, sometimes even like a bit more like on podcast or YouTubers. Not on studio, but when you're moving around going somewhere and showcasing a car or a restaurant or a luxury hotel or whatever, and you have a guy walking with you and stuff, and they have a good knowledge. And obviously there's different levels. There's guys that become super professional and they even know how to do drones and fly drones and robotic arms and stuff, and yet they're still videographers. Some of them will tell you, no, I'm not a cinematographer, right?
Okay.
So a cinematographer ends up being the director of photography, right? So it's a whole different role, because a director of photography, which is intern as cinematographer, when a cinematographer gets hired to direct a TV commercial, music video clip, or a movie, it's like another business. It's like a whole department.
Really?
Right?
Okay.
Yeah. So they have to analyze like what the script is or the creative idea is, and they have to sit down with the director, with the other directors, the art directors. So it's like a board of directors, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So they sat down and what do they want to achieve? How do they want to achieve it? And obviously there's a leader that decides, I want it like this, like this, like this. But then they also have to put on the table, it can be done, it cannot be done, why. They have to explain why it can be done, right? But then okay, so then you want to have this feel on the project, right? You want it to feel like this. So our department will get involved, cinematography will get involved. So that means you're playing with colors, right? So what is the color of the clothes the talent is going to be wearing? What is the color of your backgrounds, of your, you can see movies that they think about the simple detail that you see a little thing on the table is thought. There's a reason why it's there, right? And that might not come from the art director. It might come from the cinematographer that is saying, when I'm doing the camera travel, something's off with the colors. So we need to contrast it with something on the back. So put something here, I need a red, blue, whatever. Then he tells the art director, we're gonna need a blue or things to make a contrast there. So you don't do it when you're shooting. You have to prepare all of this way in advance. That's why there's storyboarding and all of this stuff that gets done. So basically, a videographer can be hired to operate a second or third camera in a movie. But to get the responsibility of a director of photography or DOP, he will need to get some professional career studies or diplomas and prove that he can make magic with the light.
Yeah. Lighting. So it's very interesting to hear the distinction between a videographer and a cinematographer. But listening to you, it sounds like the videographer is in charge of I'm just purely in charge of capturing the content, but the cinematographer is, okay, how is this going to look though? The feel, the emotion, the light, the cameras, what type of cameras, what type of people do we need? And this is something I've always thought of. Sorry, please.
No, go.
Oh, yeah. So something I've always thought of in my head, I'm like, I've never understood why movies take so long, right? They'll tell you like, oh, we're shooting now, and it will come out like maybe 4 years later. So I'm like, okay, I know you shoot for a certain amount of time. Let's say you shoot for 5 months, 6 months, 1 year, whatever. The shooting time is limited. But now when I started editing my own podcasts and doing that, and I heard about how they have to render videos and color correction and all that, and I'm like, fucking hell. So for me, it would be interesting actually if you could walk us through. Let's say I came to you, I'm like, hey Hutch, I have a movie idea. How do we start? What's that process look like? If you can simplify it.
The first thing I will tell you would be awesome and oh shit.
It's both. Fair.
No, look, I love it. But I wanna go back a little bit of what we were talking about the cinematographers, because they even get involved in directing the talent.
Oh, really?
They even get involved because if the position is not right, they will go and correct the position, right?
Oh, okay.
Or maybe the way they're acting or doing something is the shot is not right because of their movement, so he might suggest change the movement, change this. It's director of photography. So it means directing as well, right? So it's part of the crew that directs the talent. Obviously, the last say is on the main director, which if you compare it to a business would be the CEO,
Sure.
right? The producer would be CMO, no, COM. But anyway, so what you're saying, look, yeah, you're right. And another difference is videographers edit, cinematographers don't.
Gotcha. Okay.
Some now do,
Yeah.
right? Because they grow on their studies, the university, they have to edit and stuff. But on the standard things, no, they deliver, and then there's a director of post-production.
Oh my God.
So you have to go, answering your question, you have to, there's three stages
Okay.
that are most commonly known, which is pre-production, production, and post-production.
Okay.
But there's one thing that everybody always forgets, and it's called development.
Development.
Development is the first thing. So you just said, I had an idea for a movie. Okay, we need to develop it. It cannot go into pre-production if it's not developed. What does it mean to be developed? It means you have the idea. Is there a script? If no, then we have to work the script. That's the first beginning of development. Okay, what's the script? Okay, so if you have a script, then it needs to go there's these guys called script doctors. So you have to take it to a script doctor. Even if you've done a lot, always, no production house will take your project if it doesn't go through a script doctor.
Really interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So the script doctor, basically what they check is a bunch of things. So they check that your structure is right, that the structure of the way you're telling the story is right. Sometimes there's bold people that twist the structure, and that's when you see movies that it goes like, oh, what? They just changed everything, right? They blow your mind or stuff, but there are risks with doing that, right? So some studios are willing to take those risks if you're Martin Scorsese or someone like that,
Sure,
right?
yeah.
But because of the name, people will pay to see the movie, right? But if you're a nobody and you're trying to play with the structure, they won't let you. They won't get involved. So the script doctor will make sure that your structure is aligned to what is expected on the industry. Then the next stage of that is what we call the Bible.
The Bible.
We call it the Bible because it's like the Bible book is, you end up with this thick book that includes, you have to do a short synopsis of the script, a long synopsis. Then you have to start saying which talent, which actors do I want to hire for it? And you have to break down the whole script, right? Scene by scene, locations, then the art director, props. So all of that development, which ends up with the Bible. So it's this thick because you have to scout locations, and that has a cost. So some of them say, no, that's part of pre-production. Yes, it's part of pre-production. But during development, you have to determine, where are you going to shoot? So your first scene may be set on an apartment, but that will increase costs, right? It's better if you do a house, right? So maybe you rent a house for a whole month and make it look like an apartment, and you switch places, and then you just go and shoot the outside of apartments and stuff. So that script doctor will also break down everything. Every single element that you have mentioned in your script, they will make a list. You mentioned a watch, there's a watch. You mentioned that color of the watch.
It's crazy how detailed it is.
Yeah, so in all, every single detail, the most insignificant detail needs to be break down, right? Then that needs to be evaluated on how much it will cost.
Okay.
Right? So that's development. That's how you get your estimate how much money your movie is going to cost,
okay.
or your TV ad, or your any of this professional kind of shooting, right?
I'm curious if this is if you're saying this is listening to the step, it sounds like you can't even start without doing the step. So how is it one that's often forgotten or neglected?
No, it's not forgotten or neglected, but when people talk about this, they don't talk about the development part. They only talk about pre-production, production,
I see.
and post-production.
So you're talking about this is an important piece that you have to really think about.
So,
okay, gotcha.
So, for example, it's good that you're asking me these kind of things, and that's why I'm sharing it, because when I see other podcasts and I see other people involved, like producers and stuff, being interviewed, they never talk about this. I don't know if they don't want to reveal how it's done or why they normally don't explain this kind of thing, but it's a process that it's there. Or maybe they just consider it's part of pre-production, but it's not part of pre-production because pre-production is you preparing to produce.
Okay.
Development, you're still not preparing to produce. This is what you want to develop, right? It's developed. Means let's think of a traditional business. So you have an idea of a business, right? But you need investors. So you have to go and pitch them. So you have to prepare, right? It's the same thing. You have to prepare what kind of businesses, what industry, what is your targeted audience, like every single detail, so that you convince them to invest in your project and the idea that they will make money, right? So it's the same. So you need to get the investment, either private or big production houses or whatever. So you need to come and pitch them. But it's not just telling them, I have this idea. You have to invest first. You have to invest in the development, in the script doctor, in the breakdown, in estimating the cost of it, right? That's why a lot of people tell me the genre. If it's sci-fi, I know it's going to cost a little bit more, right?
Yeah.
If it's romantic comedy, it's simple, right? If it's drama, it's simple. Not that the story is simple, but executing it is more simple, right? If it's action, it's kind of like sci-fi. It's a little bit more complex. So you can estimate, if you know the market and the industry, how much would this genre of movie will cost. But if you're gonna pitch it, you need to be precise with your numbers, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna just come and say, I need $10 million, right? So, which is the standard for in independent film, right? $10 million. Okay. So let's say that I'm a millionaire, I have the $10 million. Okay, I want to know what you're going to spend them on. Oh, I don't know yet.
Yeah.
I want at least to tell me what you're going to spend my $10 million on. I want to know why you need the $10 million. I'm willing to give it to you because I love films. But why will I give it to you if you're not telling me what are you going to spend it? How much is the actor? Which actors are you hiring? What is the director? Are you directing? Have you directed before? Are you producing? Have you produced before? Because sometimes there's some guys that become filmmakers that they haven't become that they have an idea, they have some money saved, they hire a producer and they hire a script doctor and a screenwriter to develop the idea that they have, right? And then they manage to create a movie and they say, I made a movie, I'm in the movie industry, right? They're not big players, but they manage to create an independent film. And some of those become
quite big.
Let's do another one, and let's do another one, and let's do another one, because there's a lot of money to make in this industry, even though people don't think there is a lot of money to be made in this industry. People think it's difficult, but it's not. With the what we were talking before with the internet and stuff, it's now much easier to make money in this industry.
Yeah.
So first. Okay,
development, we got that done.
Yeah.
And now, is the producer involved? Because now we're about to enter pre-production, right? So I'm guessing this is where, is the producer involved from the development phase, or do you go to him with the Bible and be like, okay, now this is what it's going to cost. It's their job to go make it, like to source and make it happen and do all that. Or maybe I'm not clear on what the producer's role specifically is.
Yes, I'll explain. Don't worry. So, but you have a clear idea. So. The person that is developing the project, even if they want, they're the executive producer. They are the first executive producer. It's like the president of the board of directors.
Okay, gotcha.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that person is the owner of the project, right? Because basically making a movie, I always compare it like a restaurant. It's like you have an idea for a restaurant, like a unique cuisine specialty or something. But your plan is like, I'm going to launch it, I'm going to make it successful, and then I'm going to sell it. Give it away to someone else. The owner will become someone else. And then I do another one. And then I sell it, the owner becomes someone else. And then I do another, and then I sell it. And so it works kind of like that, right? So the executive producer, you're going to understand there's different kind of producers and executive producers. So the executive producer is like top dog on the food chain, right? Then he hires people or himself sits down and works on the developing of a project, right? He might hire a producer since that process to start managing that team. That can be a team of 3 people, right? So it can be the development producer. He might not get hired for pre-production or the rest of the project.
Oh, really?
He can be just the development producer.
Oh, there's specialities like that
You
as well.
You can
niche it down into that.
You can niche it. It depends how you want to develop your
your career. Yeah.
All right. So, or you can hire someone to see through till the end, right? Even in marketing process and stuff. So anyways, so then once you have that, it starts pre-production. So you have the pre-producer. So the pre-production manager or producer has to prepare everything for the shoot. Normally, that's the same person that is doing production, right? Because that's the same person that has a team, has assistants and stuff, and they're hiring everything, transportation. If you're going to different parts of a country or stuff like flights, hotels, booking, preparing all of that, permits, licenses, hiring more people, hiring a specialized HR for movies, the castings. So then even the director, right? Who's going to direct, right? So again, as you can see, it's like being the president of a board of directors. So we need to hire a CEO. Who's going to be our CEO, right?
Yeah.
So that's the director. That's your director, right?
Okay.
So then you have a producer, right? So he even has to hire someone that people will think he's the boss, but they're on the same rank. That's why the producer comes and tells him, hey, you only have 10 minutes left to get this shot done and then we'll have to move. No, but I still want to do this,
Yeah,
artistic,
I've heard about this. Yeah.
artistic thing. No, you cannot. You only have 10 minutes and we're moving. And that moment, the producer becomes the boss.
Okay.
Right?
Okay, fair.
Okay, so, and the executive producer, obviously. So the executive producer sometimes isn't there, right? It's just like an investor or like, I want to develop this project and hires people to get it done. So then that part of pre-production collapses with the development, because once you have the Bible will change in pre-production, right? Because you're saying, I want this kind of location, or I have in mind this house that I saw in this city, I want to shoot in that house, but maybe you cannot get it, and you have to replace it for a different. Or on your Bible you have a celebrity that you want to work with, and he or she refuses to the role, right? Then you have to change for another one, right? So even before you pitch, you need to have the talent give you a letter of intent.
Oh, interesting. So you reach out to the talent before you even start.
Yeah, because
like,
what if, imagine that you have, you're a millionaire and I'm pitching you a movie and I tell you, I have Brad Pitt. How can I prove to you that I have Brad Pitt is going to act in my movie? Anyone can say that.
True.
Prove it to me. Okay, I have a letter of intent. Blah, blah. If you want, we can do a call. Right?
And but a letter of intent is not a legally binding thing, right? You could still, for example, I could still change my mind if right? Okay.
Yes, the letter of intent is just to prove that you've been in touch with the talent, with the celebrity, and that they are interested in your project.
Gotcha.
Right? By the time you get to shoot, they might have a contract with another project, and they might not be able to work with you, or they might change their mind. Maybe something happens in their personal life that this kind of movie will not benefit them, and they prefer not to get involved. Or you know what? You change your mind and you don't want Brad Pitt and you want Tom Cruise.
Yeah,
right?
Fair, yeah.
So the letter of intent is just to prove the investors or the production house that you have the relationship and you have that kind of talent interested in your project.
Gotcha.
Including the directors, like you can have like 4 or 5 directors with letter of intent, the DOPs, all of your executive level, you can have a letter of intent. Because, some people for common people, they don't pay attention to certain names, but you can see it on the Oscars, on festivals, the Golden Globes, other awards. They do recognize like the cinematography, director, right? So then who's going to shoot your movie, right? One thing is, okay, you have an awesome director, but you also need an awesome, so I have an award-winning cinematographer interested in working for this project, right? Or simple as that. No, he's on board. He's already on board. He will not accept whenever he has a letter, he already signed a contract with me that it doesn't matter when I have these dates. If he's on another contract, he will have to stop that project.
Oh, you have exclusivity with him.
Yeah, that happens as well. So sometimes movies get stopped because people that are working on those movies on the executive level or even talent already had a contract signed, right? And then the projects collapse and one of them needs to be stopped and they have to go. So that's what you see on TV series, sometimes they kill the characters because of that.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that's I never thought of that.
They
That's
modify
so true.
it, they kill them because they have to go and do a movie. And then if possible, they find a way to revive them.
Yeah, the comeback is always good.
Is the twin that nobody knew
Yeah,
about, right? Or he faked his death.
Yeah. Of course, there's something. Yeah,
something
for
like
sure.
that, right? So it's managing different projects.
Sure.
Yeah? And but yeah, so all of that starts shaping the pre-production, right?
Yeah.
And then that means pre-production means getting all the permits, getting everything ready to shoot.
Cool.
Then that will take, for a movie, development can take over a year, right? Depends on how much money, who's backing your development and how much money you have, because obviously money moves the world, right?
100%.
So if you have a good budget, you can develop in 4 months, right? Then pre-production for a movie will take around, if it's a complex movie, it can take a year, maybe more. A standard movie, an independent movie, nothing complex, will take around 6 to 8 months of production. Then production can take around 3 months, is the average. Now,
So production is interesting. The production part is it sounds like it's the smallest in terms of time you need compared to the entire movie project.
come again?
It sounds like the production, the actual recording, the actual shooting, that's the smallest part.
Yeah, that's the smallest part.
I bet you 99% of people watching this unless you're in the space, would not have known that.
Yeah,
I had no idea.
Production is the smallest part, because if you manage to do pre-production in 1 month, can be done if your development is very well prepared. If your development is fantastic, then pre-production might be, just a fraction of what it really normally takes. But then 3 months of shooting, right? Like I told you, there's different levels of producers involved: line producer, production manager, executive producers. And there's other executive producers that you're gonna see a lot on credits. They do nothing. They're just investors.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, so that's what it means when you see maybe a big name that's on it. They've just maybe put in. Okay, because I've never understood executive producer by an actor.
Yeah, you can even see the actor.
Yes,
as
exactly.
Is that they invest in the.
Gotcha.
In the
Okay.
project.
Okay.
Some of them they do get involved in the actual development of the project, right? Because when you say development, the first part development, at the end is developing the whole thing, right? From start to end, the development doesn't stop. This is just the first stage.
We need just something to start from.
Yeah, is develop it, right? Develop the script, develop the concept, develop all of that so that we can start pre-production, then go to production, and then go to post-production. Now, production, it can take also a year. So it depends. This saying that is the shortest part. But if it takes you a year to shoot, it will for sure take you 3 years to post-produce.
Okay.
Right? So triple the time that you're gonna need for post-production. Why? Because shooting, if you're doing a super production, those are budgeted around $100 million is the minimum to be considered a super production. I'll give you an example, Troy.
Yeah.
Right? So you have to build stuff, you have to create things, you have to do customized costumes, you have to swords, horses, 300 extras, so all of that takes time. So sometimes you're 2 days shooting just to get 30 seconds of footage, right? So
wow,
it depends what you're shooting.
Of course, yeah.
What kind of the genre, what kind of project, it will all make a difference. You cannot say every project is the same. Definitely not. It's just you cannot say every restaurant is the same.
Or every business is the same. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right. So it's in the same industry, but it's so food and beverage, right? It's not the same thing. Fast food, than room service,
Yeah.
than going to a high-end restaurant. So, or a homemade restaurant, So it's the same industry, different category. So it depends. It depends. And then post-production, obviously, if it's like what we're talking, that it requires a lot of effects, visual effects and stuff, then as well. Because, okay, you might save money and time in production. Like, okay, so I want to see 1,000 soldiers here. Okay, so we just need to hire 500 extras to make, and then on post-production, we'll add so that it looks like thousands, right? Okay, yeah, but still, you need to make it look realistic, and it takes time in post-production, right? That's what virtual production is evolving, is making things easier, but we'll talk about that later. So then you have a finished product, right? So traditionally, what production houses is, there's two things. There's the production house and there's the distributor.
Okay.
Right? So once you have a finished product, you even have to have alternative shots. Like the script doctor will assess since the very beginning, this is a risky scene. You need to have a backup. Because if the audience doesn't receive this well, you need to change it for this one. Okay. You say, how will you change it if it's already out there? No, but it's before. So it's like market studies, right? Like market research. So they do focus groups. They grab a bunch of people. They watch the movie, and they do like 100 people or 200 people to get an assessment, and then they give their opinion about the movie, right? They have to sign an NDA. They cannot talk about it, mention anything or whatever, but they know that movie is coming maybe a year before it's released, right? So once they go through all that process starts when the distributor is interested in acquiring your product.
Okay.
Right? So let's say you spend $10 million in your movie, and then, okay, you have a final product, and the distributor says, okay, I like it, but I have my doubts, so I want to run focus groups. Or maybe they don't. If they don't, good. Then you just ready to negotiate. If they do, then focus groups, and then you might have to go through another final post-production process and change some things, right? Or you're aiming to make it PG-13, you make it too strong, and they tell you, no, this is R. And your audience is PG-13. And then if you launch it as an R, then you lose your audience. So then you have to remove certain parts to make it PG-13 so that you can reach your audience. And then there's also industry war, which I won't get into right now, which they might put you in R just to force to give another movie.
Oh, really?
That's how Hollywood controlled the whole thing. So internationally, that's how they controlled it. So if they're benefiting another movie and they're telling you yours is R because you said fuck 200 times, right? And theirs says fuck 199 times. So theirs is PG-13, yours is R.
No way.
Right? And then you have to change it, right? And then you can even go to trial for something like that, right? So that's the complex part of it, right? But it's very rare that you encounter like a situation like going into a lawsuit or stuff, but then you can get not a favorable rating, right? Because of the audience that you want to reach.
Yeah.
But I mean, nowadays there's specialized consultants that will. That's one of the things I do as well. That will tell you if you want to target this audience, just avoid this, and this, so that you don't get uprated, and then you can actually launch it for the audience that you're aiming for.
Exactly.
Right? And then the distributor part, then they say, okay, I like your project, so it costed you 10 million, then they will pay 20 or 30 millions, right? Same as if you sell it to Netflix, right? It costed to you a certain amount of money, then you're selling it to them. The difference is when you sell it to the distributor, you're selling the intellectual property and everything.
So you're selling the rights too.
Yeah,
That's it.
it's no longer yours. Now, the distributor, you get royalties. Like you might get royalties, the screenwriters and stuff. Yeah, there's royalties contract there, just like music. It's like music labels, right? They have arguments with the artists because they own the music. Those things have changed on the past couple of decades, but you can still see bad deals there, right?
Sure.
So an example is Michael Jackson, right? He had that, so he bought the label to own it, and he did a hostile takeover, and they didn't like it. Do your research. I'm not going to say the name right now. They didn't like it. The company didn't like it, and that's part of the rumor that those are the guys who actually killed him because of that. Because he didn't become owner of his own music, he became owner of all the artists and all the catalog that label had, right? He had full control now. So he snatched it out of their hands.
Yeah.
So it's the same with movies, right? So the distributor acquires it from you, and then they become the owners, but they still have to invest in marketing, in making a fuss about the movie, deciding if it's going to be an international launch or a national launch. So that's kind of like the whole process.
That, first of all, thank you so much. That's fascinating to me because I've never had the pleasure of sitting down with someone who has such experience in this field, and it's something that I have a friend who works in film. Shout out Amin. He's the one who helped me with the studio, with the lights, with everything. So big credit to him. I always shout him out on the show. So you talked about the last bit that you touched on was very interesting, which is the distribution aspect and selling to like a distributor. So what went to my mind directly was Squid Game. Because Squid Game was a script that was written, I think it was 10 years ago he wrote the script, but Netflix picked it up, I think maybe a couple of years ago, and now it's exploded into this like massive thing. So I'm curious, because you produce TV as well, you produce TV channels and networks and whatever, so I guess, if that's the whole process of running like a movie, when you're doing a TV show, is it all of that just in like broken up into like smaller like more episodes or whatever, or with TV do you have to look at production, making a TV show in a completely different way to movies?
It can be the same and it can be very different.
Okay,
it depends what the project. If you're talking about TV series, the process is very similar. It's only instead of shooting 90 minutes, you're gonna shoot much more, right? Because you're gonna divide into episodes. So for example, comedy normally it's 20 minutes episodes.
Average, yeah.
Right? More bio-series and dramas and action, most of them are 40 minutes, right? So if you have 40 minutes per episode and a movie is 120, so 3 episodes is the equivalent of a movie, right? So out of one movie, you could make 3 episodes. So the process is a little bit different. Yes, you have to do development, but then you have, you could call it a war room of writers, right? What we were saying, something can change along the way, contracts, stuff, and you have to modify the story. Or you know why the audience is loving this character, was small, and then you develop more on that character, right? That also happens on series, right? The characters that are like, for you as a developer, it's just a field character that is just there to, right? And people fall in love with him and they want to see, they mention, that's the beauty about social media. Yeah, I wish we could see more about this guy, blah, blah. So if you pay attention to the community, right, then okay, so they want to see more about this, right? So I'll give you an example of Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones, the community at a certain point was unsatisfied that they were killing everyone. We don't know if it was just a strategy, part of the script, because it was constantly changing, or because of the story, or because of contracts that the talent had to move around. But it's been a while since I talked about Game of Thrones. But have you seen it?
I've never watched it, no.
Okay, you should.
I'm not personally, it's not my kind of show. Anything that's set back in that day on like a horse, I'm like, you know what, I've seen enough of this stuff, I'm good.
For me, it was the same. And then I watched it and I couldn't stop.
Yeah, a lot of people have said that too. Fair enough.
Once you give it and you know, I've met, it's been a long time because it's way done. But it's been a long time since I found someone that says, no, it's not my kind of like thing. So every person that I meet that says that and gives it an opportunity, calls me and tells me, you know what, you were right. I'm so hooked.
Fair, I can give it a chance. Why not?
But anyway, so there was this character of this girl in Game of Thrones. I forget the name right now. That's why I was asking if you know it. Everybody's gonna say, "How could you forget the name?" Sorry, it happens. So it became very popular, right? And so they developed more on a certain season of her, and they developed her on a certain way that it becomes like a very important character in the series. When before it was just field character. Another one also, they killed him. The audience didn't like him. They brought him back.
Mm-hmm.
They found a way to bring him back from the death, because the audience immediately was like pissed that they killed him. And they didn't kill him because of a contract thing. They killed him because the story was written like that,
Mm-hmm.
right? It was time for him to die. But the audience wouldn't take it.
Yeah.
The audience wouldn't take it, so they had to rewrite the script and bring him back to life. And so when you're storytelling, there's a process, right? That's one thing. So you could say that's TV, right? But then there's also talk shows or this kind of format.
Yeah.
It has a completely different way of being produced, right? So is your talk show live with a live audience? You have a live audience like theater, right? So sitcoms in the United States, they have a live audience. So it's like going to the theater and watching a play, but it's just one episode.
With all those
right?
laugh tracks and whatever that you
And
hear.
they shoot it live. That's why sometimes you're seeing the actor. I don't know if you saw, this is an old one. I mean, you know, they've been around. Prince of Bel-Air.
Oh, of
With
course.
Will Smith,
Yeah, of
right?
course.
That's where
yeah.
Will Smith started.
Of course.
Right? And you can see them like waiting for the audience to stop laughing because they made them laugh so hard that they need to wait for the audience to stop and then continue and adapt. And it's like theater, man. That's quite something because it's live. It's live shooting. It's like theater. You have an audience and it's being recorded, right? Yes, it can go through a process of post-production in which you, because it's not being broadcasted live, but it's live recording. So then you can go to tweaking and changing some things in post-production before you air it, but it's like theater, man, right? Then there's other shows that they don't have a live audience, correct? So those, you don't need to shoot them like live. You can shoot them like traditional TV standard shows. But you have to think about TV. Most of TV is live. Most of TV is shot live. News are live.
Yeah,
right?
true. Very good point. Yeah.
Morning talk shows are live. Most of the talk shows, with or without an audience, most of them, they're live. Most of them have an audience. Some of them have fake audience, just to match the format. It's like if right now you can hear them laughing, right? This would be a fake audience. So if you put that effect there, it will,
Yeah, the laugh track, yeah.
So it does. They do it. They
Yeah.
do it. They put the laugh track, and that is to trigger, like if it's a comedy, it's to trigger like, okay, we don't have the live audience, because even with the live audience, maybe they don't get the joke, right? And they put signs like laugh, right? And then the audience fake laugh or clap, and they clap, and they have like moderators in each section of the sitting booths to control the audience, right? To tell them now clap, now stand up, and they play with the audience to have a reaction with what they're doing on the show. Some of them, to keep it safe, they decide like, let's remove the live audience, let's shoot it live. Like if it's theater, so you have to do it on one go and stuff, right? And then talk shows, there's no script. I mean, it's kind of like this. I mean, you can prepare a little bit of what you're going to discuss with a guest or what the theme of that day is going to be, and, but there's not a prepared script for it. So
Yeah,
it's
it's
more
not
like
super structured, right? Yeah.
It has a structure.
Yeah.
It has a structure, but it doesn't have a script.
Yes.
Structure
Exactly.
without a script.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like this. It's like a conversation and stuff, right? So, for example, I talk a lot.
You've got good stories though.
So in these kind of things, it's easier to say, don't worry about it, we'll just roll, and then if I have to shorten it, I'll cut pieces out and stuff, right? In a talk show, it's different, right? I would have already someone behind you telling me,
Yeah.
done, you're done, right? Or telling you to stop me and send to commercials, or, because also you have a time and you have to go to commercials and you have to
The schedule, right? You have to follow, right?
Uh-huh.
And so it's very interesting to hear like the distinction between TV and movies. I think one really important aspect that you touched on that I wasn't aware of is that a lot of TV is typically live, like actual TV, it happens live. And this kind of brings me on to streaming. Now, you've been in streaming now for 15 years. So you saw the potential of it from very, very early on. And now you see there was like, if we look at the past like 20 years, first of all, there was social media came, then influencers were the thing to be. And then podcasts came, and now podcasting being a podcast is the thing to be. And now streamers, all these guys that stream these games or whatever it's exploded. And it's particularly with the younger audience. I think the older generation like myself are still, it's not that we can't watch that content, but it's not the one that we don't jump to it, right? So could you walk me through, I'm guessing, because I don't understand why has streaming become so popular, and why is it seems content is moving, if you're paying attention, towards more live than being, recorded like this, for example.
I call it the digital tree of life.
Okay.
So you heard about the tree of life, right?
Yes.
So it has branches, it has many flashes. So it's the same. It's the same. So basically the center part is the technology that is available for us to go online, right? Then the different branches you can go to is the whole market that is out there that you can explore. So I'm gonna try to be quick on this one, because you're right. From platforms like YouTube being born, people start uploading content there, podcast, then live podcast, and streamers, right? Streamers for me is just a replica or a mirror of YouTubers.
Okay, interesting.
So it's not the same thing to be here engaging in a conversation with you that if we were just on your own, talking to the camera, to your audience and giving them information. That's basically the same format as the streamers. You're live streaming content, right? So it started with YouTubers, right? So the live streaming concept that you're talking about started there.
Yeah.
But then something happened with the evolution of the industry, esports. So the competitions, man, they come all the way back from the 60s and the 70s when Pac-Man and these first video games were developed. They were already competitions. And they were kids winning awards and money and prizes and things. And it kept on going, but it grew on a way with, once we got the online multiplayer, when we got the online multiplayer, when that happened, that changed the game in the gaming industry. So then these game publishers started like creating tournaments and making it more professional. There's esports professionals. This is something that people do not grasp yet.
I used to watch them. When I was a gamer for I retired like not long ago, 6 months ago. But for 10 years, there was a game I would play, and I would watch the experts. Like, imagine there's every year they have like the World Cup of like that game, which was Dota for the people who don't know.
Yeah.
I would watch it like I'm watching a football game. It was that engaging. It's crazy.
So look, I see now, like, for example, I come from a big family. I have nieces and nephews of all ages, and I see one of my nephews mentioning he wants to be an esports professional, and his parents, they don't get it. They understand what it is, and it's like playing video games, right? Like how can playing video games be a professional? No, and then that in that particular case is repeating history, right? It's like when we wanted to say, like, I want to be a professional tennis player. Those are like, you're gonna starve. You're gonna be able to do a career out of that, right? So now, even if the parents are young, they don't understand that. And that's the kids that want to pursue that career are encountering this situation, right? They don't, and then you see kids videos on YouTube of kids arguing with their parents and their parents destroying their 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 um, their PS5 or their Xbox because they spend too much time playing games. And you need to have a balance. But what those parents don't understand is that maybe that kid was about to become a millionaire. And that's why when he destroys that's why the kid goes bananas and goes crazy on him. And that relationship gets damaged for sure, right? So, because the father only sees he's wasting time playing video games, but he doesn't see that he's competing and that he's on a roll and that he's a high player and that he's probably going to get signed as a professional player. And some of those guys are better paid than NFL or FIFA players.
100%.
Or NBA players.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some of these guys are paid millions of dollars to just go and compete, right? So everybody knows that the film industry is a millionaire industry. Gaming surpassed it. There's more money invested because the same money that you invest to do a movie in gaming is triple or 4 times that, because you're actually producing a movie within the game. Or you're adapting a movie, making it into a game.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Very true. It's a
or
good
turning
point.
the game into a movie.
Exactly, yeah.
But normally there's a story, right? There's a story on the game, and right. So the ones that are more like competitive, like esports, some have storytelling. The most common are not about the story; it's about making points, competing, and stuff. But it is a profession. So what's happening? What you were talking about the streaming before. So we need to understand that evolution happened. But before that evolution happened, when it started happening, it was like, for me, back in the day, it was like, hey, mom, can I go to the mall on Friday to meet with friends? And okay, yes or no. No, because you didn't bring good grades. So I'm stuck at home this weekend, right? I cannot go out. I'm stuck at home. I can only do things with my family. But yeah, okay, fine, right? But then I wanted to see my friends, right? But I couldn't. So I had to wait until I see them at school or whatever, right? When multiplayer online gaming came along, it's like, okay, I cannot go to your home, but can you play Halo? Okay, connect online, and then we're together and we're talking. It's like we're together.
100%.
It's like we're together, right? And so I don't need to go to the mall, or I don't need to go. So that new generation started, like, it happened to our generation, but it evolved in the next one. So all that interaction, online interaction, it was not face-to-face anymore. It was there. So what happens if you know that all of your friends are going to do a Halo match or FIFA or something online, multiplayer, but for some reason you will not be able to join, right? For some reason. Every Friday you join, except this Friday you're not going to be able to join because you're traveling, because you have to go to the doctor, because you have a family thing, whatever. You cannot join. And then next day, or you arrive 2 hours later and they tell you, oh, you should have seen what happened. And you're like, oh, I missed it, blah, 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 right? And then one guy said, well, why don't we record it? Right? Record it for me, please. I'm not going to be able to join. I'll watch it later. Right? What's the easiest way to record it? If we're gamers, right? So turn on your webcam and record it. Okay, so look, I cannot play, but I want to watch the game while I'm waiting for the doctor to receive me. Okay, I'll live stream it for you, man.
Okay.
And then gamers started live streaming the gaming, what they're doing, how they're playing, because their friends want to watch when they cannot engage on the game.
Okay, interesting.
Right? So they copied the YouTuber thing and they turned it into game. Now, even adding to that, there were YouTubers that they were specialized in gaming. So they said, yeah, you're right, I'm talking about the game. I'm going to start playing it online so that you can see. Because before they were just talking about it. Then they started playing and talking about it so you could see and understand what they're talking about if you like the game, right? Maybe you're stuck in a mission, so you follow someone that, to see him how he's going through that mission so that you can also go through it, because for some reason sometimes it happens that you're stuck in a mission. It's like, I cannot
I've been there, man.
this mission, right?
For sure.
But yeah, so I would say that the gaming streaming evolved from all these aspects that were incorporated in life, in the day-to-day life, and that's why it went to.
And where do you see it? It's, first of all, it's very interesting to hear the history of streaming, because I never understood how it started. Just throughout, I was a gamer, so.
And I was very brief on that.
Yeah, I know. I'm sure there's a lot more details, but I never knew the context and how important esports and gaming was to create, I guess, amplify streaming. So, what's interesting, and you touched on it earlier. Now I'm also seeing on YouTube and stuff, like this podcast, we could put this live, by the way, and then you could also go back and watch it after. Netflix now, what they're doing is the premiere of this is live now.
Events.
This live sporting event, so it seems the world is shifting. It seems that live is growing. Streaming is, I think, like, it's grown a lot, but I think there's a huge wave of tech and stuff that's gonna come into this space, which is why I know you have experience with augmented reality, virtual reality, all this kind of stuff. So I feel like streaming and that world, that kind of technology is beginning to merge more and more together. I guess they'd have to make it successful, or you'd know better, so you can tell me otherwise.
No, you're absolutely right. Look, so, like, I come from a background, family of TV networks and stuff, right? So back in the early 90s, when I saw that they were installing the fiber optic rings, and internet was even arriving into Mexico. So I had the opportunity, this is a brief that will get into that. Something interesting that I got to experience when I was in the United States doing high school is the United States was launching the internet for the United States, right? So they were telling about it in school, right? So there's this thing called the internet that is going to be launched by the government, blah, 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 blah. So now you're going to have a computer here in your classroom, and you're going to be chatting, texting, sending emails, but it was a live chat with someone from another state. And before, they called that PayPals. That's why PayPal has that name. P-pals or something like that, they called it. So basically it was with written letters.
Yeah,
so you would write
pen pals.
Pen pals. So you will send a letter to someone in another state from another school, and then they will write you back, and then you engage in a friendship. And some of those built into a long-lasting friendship relationship,
absolutely, yeah.
right? So then I had the opportunity to see it switched into an online thing. Right, and then we all went to New York on an excursion, both schools, and then I got to meet my pen pal and stuff, right? But then another thing that I saw, that I got to experience, I'm talking about 1990, 1991. So another thing that I got to experience is that our computer class teacher was all excited about the first advertisement banner ever in the history of internet, right? So the first one. So she understood what was coming, and she was, it seemed, when all that internet hype started happening at school, I could see her, and it was like, she's on drugs, man. I mean, she was so excited about it that you could say, chemicals were being triggered.
Something's up, yeah.
Chemicals were being triggered in her body for sure, man. She was all hyped and excited. And, I never seen her before the internet came into our school back then. I wasn't always studying in the United States, but that was in this a couple of years that I was there. And, okay, so she was so excited about showing us the first advertisement on internet, right? So she knew what it was and stuff, but she wanted to keep it a secret for us and so. So, okay, so we're talking about the DSLR modems. If you unhook the phone, the connection gets lost, super slow. The first internet launch in the United States. So, okay, so we're sitting there all in a circle, and we're waiting for it to load. One line. Dude, so it's a 1 hour class, right? Not even 3% of the image was loaded. not even 3%. Right? Okay. So go back. No, I'll go get you guys when it finishes on downloading. And I thought it was really interesting, man. I've always been into computers and stuff since I was a kid. I started playing video games with a Commodore 64 bits. Even a Radio Shack we have. Floppy disks in the game, load, 8,1, enter. I can play.
The classics.
Yeah. Old school, man. And so at the end of the day, she never went and get us to. So at the end of the day of school, I went and hey, I want to see it. And it's like, still not loaded. So the only thing that we could see by the end of the day was a rectangle, gray, kind of like this color, gray rectangle. So that's what we now know as banners, right? So it was a rectangle. So we're starting to load. So she left it all day, all night, and then the next day, like I didn't even bother to. Obviously, I'm not a computer nerd geek, so I was not like going immediately to see if it was downloaded. Normal school day, whatever. Then recess, and then recess I start hearing, oh, did you see it? Did you see it? Did you see it? It's like what? No, the banner, right? The advertising, the internet advertising. No, okay, downloaded? Yeah, it's downloaded, right? So I go and see it, and it was Volkswagen.
No way.
So the first ever internet advertisement was by Volkswagen.
No, I had no idea. I
So
never knew that.
that makes you think, right? So if World War II triggered the need for these kind of technologies that started on the military and then went to the public, so it's funny to have a German company doing the first advertising in the American internet, right?
The irony is funny, isn't it?
But yeah, I remember perfectly. So they were advertising one of the new models or stuff. Obviously, the graphics were like pixels, and it was like 18-bit or something like that. So it was like not realistic. It was like a cartoony kind of ad. But then she started explaining us to where that was gonna go to, and I saw it. And back then I was 12, 13 years old, and I saw it. I understood it. Okay, people are gonna start now. Like we see commercials in TV. We're gonna start seeing commercials in computers, right? And it was like, and it makes sense because I connect my Commodore 64 to my TV to play, right? So, kind of like it didn't happen that way.
Yeah.
But trying to foresee what's coming, right? Without being a computer nerd or geek. I hope I don't offend anyone by saying nerd or geek but you get what I mean.
Yeah.
So I'm a film nerd. I'm a film geek.
Yeah, that's fine.
So tech geek.
Tech geek, yeah. Whatever geek, whoever. Geek, no problem being geek, yeah. I'm a podcast geek, so yeah.
And so then when I saw that they were installing the fiber optics, I saw, okay, internet is coming to Mexico. That's what they're preparing all of this, right? And then it did happen. Internet came to Mexico, and it started growing and growing and growing. And banners, then it will take time to unload the images and stuff. Back in those days, 1994, 1925, 1996, it was like, okay, I'll come back in 1 hour. And then you'll come back in 1 hour and the video, 1 minute video was downloaded, or an image was downloaded, or something like that. What was fast was sending emails back then, or chatting, right? Back then it was very popular, ICQ. And MSN acquired ICQ, still around, I think. Then Skype came along. Then they turned it into video call. But yeah, man. So then what happened? So there were websites that had banners, and then spamming email. So that's how advertising started getting into the internet, right? With emails and banners, and then marketing people said, okay, let's do our website for our company, let's do content there, let's try to engage create a chat and engage with the community there. And this is before social media, right? But then social media came along, and everybody thinks it's Facebook, but it wasn't Facebook. There were platforms
MySpace, you know.
MySpace was before Facebook. High Five, that I think now it's called Scout.
Oh yeah, High Five. I forgot about that one. Yeah, yeah.
So I was all High Five, man.
I was a High Five guy too.
You know, when I switched to Facebook, when no one replied my messages in High Five, that's like fuck.
No one else is here.
Everybody changed to Facebook. I refused. It took. I was still trying to convince people like stay in High Five because I like fuck. It took me because High Five was personalized. You could personalize it and you could do a bunch of things with it and stuff. So it took me a while to build the community and to engage it and to build it and stuff. And then they all went to Facebook. It's like, I have to start over. I have to start again. No way. No. But then that was the tendency, man. Now you have LinkedIn, you have Facebook, you have Instagram, you have multiple social media, right? For me, back then, it's like, why multiple? I mean, this is the one that, this is the one, this is where I engage with the world. Why would I need another one, right?
Yeah.
But then as I grew and I started learning more about social media and streaming, I realized some things that I will mention later. So then streaming came along, right? So the technology has been allowing me to do the streaming. So I'm telling you about like, okay, was that banner loading streaming? No. But what's the beginning of it? Right? Because then they wanted to put a video in YouTube, right? So the first one that had to call YouTube and tell them like, I don't know, because there's no call-us or anything. So someone had to hop on a plane and go to Google or YouTube offices and tell them, how much will it take for you to let me put a video on all your users' channels, right? And then maybe it was a big company, Coca-Cola or one of these monsters, and they were willing to pay millions. So they say, okay, evolve the platform so that we can add ads and advertising into YouTube, right? And then the user is like, why are you putting ads in my videos? I don't want your ads in my videos, right? And there are probably some lawsuits and stuff, and that's how they come, okay, you can monetize if you want, and it's optional. You can choose to turn it on or off.
Oh,
Right?
okay. Interesting. So that's where the monetization piece came in. Okay,
Yeah.
interesting.
So because in my big brands, wanting to engage with this, so they obviously a big brand or big brands pressured YouTube, like, I want to be present in your platform, right? So at the beginning, so in marketing, there's a thing in advertising that is called push and pull. So push advertising is a push it to you. So that's a TV ad when you're driving in your car and you see a big sign. So those, even if you don't want to see it, they're pushing it to you and you have to, they're pushing it so that you see it. And pull is the ones that they make you come to them, right? They make you come to them and learn about what they're selling, advertising, right? So obviously there was a push, right? But come on. So users weren't happy. So how can I make them happy if I share the profits?
Yeah.
Right? So that's how all that advertisement and streaming came along. And because of that, more people say, I want to try it. I want to see if I can make money with it. And then more people started getting
into it. Yeah. So given where we are now, because that the story you mentioned about the teacher and the internet is great, but how you said that from that age you saw, I'm like, okay, I think I can see where this is going, and a lot of people are going to be using this, needing this. This is the new way the world is going. So I guess the question I have for you now that we have all that historical context, where are we now? Where do you see the next, I guess the next thing that we're all gonna, maybe from a content and media perspective, that we're all gonna be drawn into?
Well, one thing that I haven't mentioned is wireless.
Wireless.
Yeah, so that already happened back in 2007 with 3G technology. So that's when I developed mobile TV.
Yeah.
I pioneered on it. I was way ahead of time, and it flopped because of it. But then it also is what got me into developing streaming TV networks. But the first one that I developed evolved into getting hired to develop one that is still, after 20 years right now, still working. Right?
That's awesome, man.
And So the thing with that, what you have to consider is that streaming evolved from those modems that you disconnected. Streaming was not around. When the digital modem came around, that you could pick up the phone without interrupting the internet connection, that's when YouTube started coming along. That's when social media. That's what we call Web 2, right? That's when Web 2 came along, and there's something within Web 2 that a lot of people do not realize, and is that the mobile phones got internet as well. So before, the mobile phones didn't have data. It was just calls and SMS. When that got internet, that changed the game completely. So when I saw that, okay, now they have, now they're in color, right? Now they're in color. Then now they have a screen where I can see videos. Now I can record videos. Some of them you could plug a camera and record videos and stuff. And then they added now internet, and I said, like, that's where everything is going. On the mobile streaming aspect of it, right? So I had to mention that part because you have to go like from wire to wireless streaming, which allows a lot of content creators to do content on the go, right? Because of their phones. That is also another evolution that streaming had, right? Now we're obviously 5G, from 3G to 5G. It started with 3G. 4G made it faster. 5G seems to be something that will revolutionize everything. And I think the key is there's a lot of technologies around, XR, AR. All of them are being merged and pushed into everything. So there's some streamers that are even incorporating augmented reality. Sorry. There's some streamers that they're even incorporating augmented reality into their live feed. So augmented reality is already there. Augmented reality is being used in news shows, in professional TV networks. So you see a huge desk and stuff, and all of it's fake. It's a desk like this, and everything is digital.
That's crazy.
Before it was like physical. Now it's most of it, at least 60% is digital. It's augmented reality. So when you see those evolutions in media and in live streaming, and in streaming in general, so what's coming in is AI. So because you already have wireless, there's nothing further than wireless or other than teletransportation, right? And that already, there's a couple of decades ago, they started already teletransporting molecules. So that will come eventually, right? But they're also saying like a quantum transmission, right? Like, so that the internet will go into the way of transmitting data, wireless, will become like teleporting the information, right? So that will make it, I mean, it's already immediately. So I don't see the point of that because
like even faster.
It's already immediate. It's already immediate. But maybe the applications are different, right? Because with AI, what I can see coming is like if I'm going to have a video call with you, you're no longer a screen. It's an hologram, right? And maybe for that, we need that new transmission technology that they're talking about, right? Maybe to take it that next step, we need that. Or I'll go even crazier. So if Elon Musk colonizes Mars, right? And I want to have a video call with someone in Mars, my pen pal in Mars, right? Obviously, the beginning of it would be through satellites, right? But then satellites are getting in the way, right? You have to set them. So how far the connection can go between one satellite and another one to have a good connection like we have right now? Because we can have a connection for sure, they're doing it. But if we're gonna have a video call, clear, 4K quality or stuff, or a hologram projected, then maybe that technology needs to get in, like this teleporting data thing that they're talking about, to make it from galaxy to galaxy, right? Which that is gonna revolutionize, because that is planning for space colonization and space communications and space marketing, space streaming, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if we're going to we might get to see it and experience it But you know, life has a
Yeah,
we're human.
yeah.
So I might
Hopefully.
be 80 years old. And I'm like, oh,
But what's
yeah,
it like,
fine.
Hutch, look, it's there.
I said this was gonna happen, right? But yeah. So but let's go to what's coming the next decade.
Yeah.
So AI is advancing tremendously fast.
Yeah.
So now you can even see like streamers streaming with avatars,
Very true.
right?
Very
so,
true.
So everything, not all of it, because this human engagement is always needed. But the streaming that we're talking about gamers and about YouTubers, a lot of them are gonna go AI. So imagine that you're playing your game, right? And then you wanna create a piece of content live, but you're not in the mood. So what happens now is you can even see it with guys that are sometimes behind the clips of influencers, like all happy doing the video to their camera, the cut, and they go like this.
Yeah.
No, they're
Yeah.
good actors. They're good actors because on camera they're great, cut, and then they're depressed or whatever, right? So imagine that you're like that, right? So you turn on your AI avatar, and you just play the game, and then the avatar will do the rest.
Yeah.
You don't even connect the mic, anything. You just play the game, and then the avatar will see what you're doing, see what you're playing. It has your personality. He knows how you want to express. So then that will start engaging. Now, if the AI goes so deep that even the guy becomes a player within the games, then that will also revolutionize. That will be a second
Evolution
part.
of it, yeah.
Because it's first me using AI to create an avatar to live stream for me, right? I might not even be. Now, if I can make it play for me to when I cannot play, just to satisfy my audience and give them the content that I normally give them, even if I have an emergency, even the AI can be programmed like, okay, if I don't come and if you don't see me come and sit in the chair, you do it.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
100%.
If you see me come in the room, then it means you ask me if you want me to do it or if he's gonna, right? It will go there. It will get there.
And we've seen the rise of, I've seen also, touching on this point, sorry to interrupt you, Hutch.
No, it's
I've seen the rise of AI clones, for marketing agencies. So like a lot of people, for example, would be like, I'm Khaled, I'm not very comfortable in front of the camera. So you'll go record one day, like let's say an hour-long content, and then the AI will take all of how you are, how you speak, whatever. And someone showed me, he's part of our community, and he put the video side by side of him and the AI, and I honestly couldn't tell which one. 60% of us got it wrong, which was crazy. You touched on the space aspect. So I recently interviewed someone who has a space consultancy here, and they help governments and projects launch in space. And we were touching on what's the future of space look like. We touched on we touched on data. How's that going to be transmitted? So kind of touching on what you said with the quantum computing and like the satellites. But you said the last thing you just talked about, Hutch, to round off our conversation for today, we've talked about the evolution of technology across film, across TV, across streaming. So underneath all of this, the one common thread across all is audience.
Audience.
And I'm curious from your perspective, because you've developed projects in all these different fields, to all different types of audiences, different types of stories, different types of platforms. I guess the question I have when it comes to understanding your audience today, because there's so much information, there's so much different types of content to get anyone even to listen to this content is us fighting against someone, is taking away from them watching someone, is that taking away from someone else. So I guess what advice would you have to people in the media space, in the content space today, when it comes to understanding your audience and then how to execute to hit that audience?
Yeah, well, the only way to understand it is by engaging it.
Engaging it.
Yeah, there's no other way. Look, in digital marketing, there's this funny saying that content is king.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot.
Okay, but engagement is queen, and the queen rules the house.
Okay, I haven't heard the second part. That's it. I like that.
Yeah, and the queen rules the house, right? Okay, so you need to engage and understand it. Like, for example, for me to understand this esports thing, to get into esports, I had to engage with a younger generation, right? And I'm not talking about engaging online. I had to engage in person, right? So that's the beauty about it, because then that forces us as humans to still have human interaction, right? Because why would I watch your content, or why would I watch this kind of content? I might never meet you in person, but I engage with the community on my city that digs this kind of content, right? And so there's this guys doing like meetups and events. That's why TikTok is doing TikTok events. Like, even the platforms are creating like engaging events so that the community interacts face to face. You have to go to those things. When you go to those things, when you experience them in person and you see the new, so you can feel old there because you see a younger generation there, and even the slang is a little bit different now. But then by engaging with them and talking with them, then you get to understand like what they, and look, like any human, they're happy to socialize, right? Especially if you're buying them chips or the sodas or
course,
stuff,
yeah.
right? No, but there's many ways. You don't have to bribe them or anything. There's just by being there, they're happy to see like someone older trying to understand their world.
Yeah, and what they do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you engage, and forget about if it's a younger generation or not. When you engage with your audience through online or offline, you understand it better. So when you understand your audience, you kind of like get to see what you have to do, and that will help you evolve your content into what will work out there.
Yeah.
So that being a podcast, that being a TV ad, that being a campaign, that being immersive experience, whatever strategy that you're implementing, if you do not understand the community that you're pushing it to, it will probably won't do so well.
Yeah.
Because you might have a very good marketing strategy, and the marketing might get you far, but it will get you only so far.
Yeah.
Right? So there's been cases that you cannot say it's a fail, but it's also not a success and stuff like, okay, so marketing strategies launch, they want to increase sales of a product or something, and they launch, and there's a lot of engagement, but no, the sales don't.
No conversion.
No conversion. So why? So then you have to study that, right? So it's the same. So you need to understand it. So sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. You cannot win all of them. So when you lose, you need to understand why you lost. Why didn't you? What happened that what you thought it was gonna work didn't work, and how can you change it, or how can you turn that situation around and make it favorable for you, right? So okay, so my sales didn't go up, but I created a community. I grew my community. That's a very good thing. Okay, now learn what that community wants. Don't push them to buy more product, but maybe if you engage them, maybe they are into recycling. So if maybe they're pro green planet, so then create activities or stuff for them, and then go green. Make your product go green.
Yeah.
If your audience is into gaming, then and your product has nothing to do with gaming, but your audience, for some reason, your audience is into gaming, then you have to somehow get involved.
Yeah.
Right? And that happens with a lot of brands, right? You see brands and it's like, okay, it makes sense that a tournament, an esports tournament sponsored by digital brands and keyboard brands and chairs and gear and stuff for sports, but those guys also drink Coca-Cola, and they also eat Doritos, and they also eat pizza, and so.
Yeah, I guess the point you made, I think, which is really important, Hutch, is not, because everyone talks about engaging with the community, but I think there's a way to engage the community as well. I like what you said about the in-person thing, because there's only so much I can do a lot of research on Google online. For example, my industry, the podcasting industry. I went and attended a conference in Paris in the Web3 space for Paris Blockchain Week, because I'm like, I want to understand, what are people saying about podcasts? Do you want it? Do you not? Are you interested? Are you not? So I could have never gotten that insight unless I went and like was out there and talking to people and understanding like how they think of things. And the thing you touched on about brands and understanding your audience, because once you understand your audience, you can also not only give them what you want, you can leverage so many different things on top or complementary, like the keyboard products or the mouse or whatever, in like the gaming context, for example. Now, what I wanted to do, just to round off the conversation for today, Hutch, this has been so much fun, man. This has been like a masterclass for me in like media and entertainment. This has been so much fun. I have 2 more questions for you. These are questions I ask all my guests. So, looking back at your life, when I ask you the question, either personally or professionally, what are you most proud of for yourself? What would you say?
I'm proud of myself, and that's it, man. So the most proud of myself, I mean, how far I have gotten. Like you said, I haven't always found a way. So I pride myself on always finding a way, like don't let anything stop you, right? And I try to transmit this to everyone, because it's a core part of me. Like, not everything is possible. Everything is possible. There's no impossibles for me. Everything is possible. Some things might take a little bit longer. Some things are a little bit tougher to achieve and stuff. But at the end, everything is possible. So that drive that I have to get things done, yeah, I would say that's one of them. And also, like being able to stay, updated with the technology. I'm also in the Web3 space. Blockchain is also playing a big part. The combination of blockchain, AI, coming into media and streaming, that definitely is also gonna is changing. It's changing definitely, and so I foresee some things that are coming that are very interesting. We'll leave that for another session.
Yeah, we will. But we'll
do another session all about Web3.
Yeah, exactly. We haven't even touched on Web3 today. We got this is round 1. I hope of many. Listening to what you said now, what I appreciated listening to your story when we had coffee that day was it. Not only did you always find a way, what I appreciated and what comes across is you did it as the person you are. You didn't take, it wasn't like shortcuts, there wasn't, and just because of the person you are, you were able to create all these different opportunities for yourself. So I think, you 100% deserve to be proud of that, man.
That's part, look, so sometimes I'm also spiritual, right? So at a certain point, the ego got to me, right? Like I felt like I was.
It always does, though.
I was, the thing that I was the shit, right? But also that taught me some lessons. So I don't want to be, like brag about me or things. I'm not like that. But you're right. When I hear it from someone else saying it, it's like, yeah, you're right. I've done it like that.
Yeah.
And that makes me feel like, proud of myself, because like you said, I did it on my own. Like I built myself on my own. I did it from scratch. And when I decided to explore new areas, new niches, new whatever, is like from my own, and I go there. And fortunately, look, when you grow, you start learning how to make friends and how to make business friends and how to do PR and these kind of things and how to engage with the human factor.
Exactly.
Right? And when you know how to engage with the human factor, you can engage in different industries, right? Just one day ago, I made friends with this guy who is into boats, right? I mean, I don't know who doesn't like cars and boats. Being a man, okay, so that's one thing. I mean, there's yachts and luxury and whatever, right? No, but this guy is into like sailing with wind, those boats with wind, and you have a whole crew, and you need to be coordinated, and you're running from one side to the boat to the other side, and you have to pull the it's not just lounging, drinking, and having fun in the cool, awesome yacht, right? This is a way of life, right? Yeah. So that's a different thing. So what are these guys into, right? The new generation that like doing that, are they also into gaming or not? So the only way to explore the human factor is by engaging with the human.
Yeah,
itself.
Absolutely.
So 100%. When you engage with others, when you engage with society, when you put yourself out there, you learn from others, and then you might get to know people from other industries that maybe you thought that you will never touch, that you will never get involved in that industry, and then it's like you end up getting involved.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like, for example, for me, I stayed away a lot from the financial industry, even though my direct family was a lot involved in compliance and all of KYC and all of this. I kind of wanted to like stay away from the financial things, but then crypto came.
Yeah, and there you go.
And I fell in love with crypto, and I was like,
I'm in,
I'm in, okay.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
then get deeper into centralized finance, get deeper into decentralized finance, get deeper into the whole thing, and then I ended up buying stocks, buying crypto, selling crypto, trading, and then I love it. I ended up even doing a TV network about it. So.
Exactly, yeah. And what you said there, Hutch, I resonate with that sentiment so much, which is, the learning from other people, which is why I'm sitting in this chair, why I started this show. I've had the pleasure of sitting with amazing people like you. Today I learned all about film. I've learned about water treatment, fashion, things. So, and also because of that, it's opened up so many opportunities in so many different fields that I would have never even dreamed of. So I 100% resonate with that. I know we've talked about a lot of different things today, and you've given so many good nuggets of information, but the way I like to round off my show is, what is the last message you'd like everyone to take home with them today?
Okay, so I would say, guys, whatever you dream that you want to do or you dreamt to do, pursue it. It's never late. It's never late to pursue your dream. Some could say, no, I'm too old to be a professional tennis player. Yeah, but there's amateur tournaments.
True.
Which will let you do it at your age. There's, like I tell you, there's always a way. But, a lot of people always try to push you down on your dreams. When there's, I think there's two kinds of dreamers. There's dreamers and doers. And there's dreamers that do. So don't just dream, do.
I think, man, what a perfect way to end the podcast on that note. Hutch, man, I want to say thank you so much, bro, for coming on the show. This has been an absolute pleasure. I've had such a great time. I've really learned a lot from you.
I could say more, but
yeah, I know, but we got time, we got things to do. But hopefully this is the first of many recordings together. And I just want to say thank you so much, man. I really learned a lot, and I'm sure anyone listening to this can take so much away when they're in the media space. They're streamers, in tech, or where media is going. So much they can take away. So thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me.
Man, it's
been
a pleasure. Thank you. Guys, to everyone listening, thank you so much for your time. Please make sure to like, follow, share, and subscribe to the podcast. I hope it helps pod on all channels. And as always, guys, I hope it helps. Peace. Vamos! Thank you, man. Thank you so much.
No, thank you.
Thank you, man. It was a pleasure. And that's another episode in the bag, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. The goal of this podcast is to provide, as I like to call it, education on demand. We cover a wide range of topics, and the goal is to provide you with the knowledge, the tools, and the insights to improve your lives both personally and professionally. And if you're enjoying the show and you're enjoying the content, if you could please do me the small favor of hitting that subscribe button, would really help me build the show and build the channel, and that's all I ask. Stay tuned for more inspiring conversations, bigger guests, and as always, guys, hope it helps. Peace.